Captain's log, stardate 43152.4. Our fleet is cautiously entering hostile territory, and the crew is standing by in appropriate time.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
What we leave behind is not as important as how we have lived. Those are the famous last words spoken by Captain Jean-Luc Picard on board the Starship Enterprise D, shortly after it had crashed in the valley on Veridian 3 in Star Trek Generations. And since then, that phrase has been used in the Star Trek continuum to describe the ending of many different things, most notably at the end of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and I believe it was used on the retrospective, looking back at that show and kind of the conclusion of the Rick Berman era for Star Trek, which is my era. And so recently that phrase was used again for something else, and that something else is called Star Trek Infinite. It's a 4X galaxy simulator based on Stellaris. If you can remember, I did a launch day impression video here on the channel where I talked a little bit about the game, some of my thoughts and opinions on it, and my hopes for the future. Well, unfortunately, friends, there is no future for this game. Late last year, updates kind of stopped for this game, communication stopped for this game, and we heard nothing else, and there was no projected future for it. Nobody had any idea what was going on. There was some rumblings that contracts were being negotiated behind the scenes to see who could continue working on it and what they wanted to do with it, but nothing came about. Well, recently we learned that Star Trek Infinite has been dumped, abandoned, and it is completely alone in the depths of space. So unfortunately, we will not be getting any more updates to Star Trek Infinite. In this video, I'm going to go through the announcement from the team at Paradox, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about this game, some of the things that I had hoped to see, and some of the concerns that I have about what this game really represents. In a nutshell, Star Trek Infinite is a completely overhauled version of Stellaris. It is a Paradox internally built mod using the Stellaris engine, the Clawswitch engine. They did very little in terms of modification. Most of the modification was done to the user interface. A lot of the event pictures and some of the key art and the designs, it's really just stuff like that, just flavor stuff, like that picture of Dr. Crusher on the screen. That's, the event itself is in Stellaris, it's just listed differently, or it's presented with different flavor text. And so in Star Trek Infinite, that's what it is, really. It is a revamped version of Stellaris, and that's where I think the sticking point was for a lot of people when this game was released. Because in Stellaris, you have the ability to create your own race and to create your own empires and really customize the layout of the galaxy to build the game how you want it to be. In Star Trek Infinite, you're stuck with a static galaxy, at least in the beginning. The galaxy is dynamic and changes based on your decisions and other decisions from the AI empires. You always start with the Klingons, the Federation, and the Cardassians, and the Bajorans. And you eventually, unlock the Borg, and there's other races that you meet, but it always starts out the same. You always end up with the same galaxy. And so I think a lot of the sticking points for this game come with the fact that it seemed like it was half-baked, almost like, because a lot of the textures are still the same. The stars are exactly the same as in Stellaris. A lot of the textures from the planets are the same. A lot of the things are exactly the same. The layouts of the user interface boxes, and in my opinion, I think they're better. I think some of the interface design decisions in Star Trek Infinite are really well done. I would have liked to see them happen in Stellaris, but at this point, we're getting nothing because updates stopped happening for this game back in December, approximately, and then we didn't hear anything. And so we've been waiting and waiting, and I actually had plans to kind of record this game and possibly do a playthrough for it. I was waiting to see kind of what the future of this game is, and there is no future because we got this announcement from Paradox just a few days ago. So as you see on your screen, we've got a couple of pieces of key art. The Klingons are the ones to bring us the bad news, because sadly, we must inform you that Star Trek Infinite will not receive further updates. And that's the big announcement. That single line is nothing. We're not going to do anything else with this game. We dropped it, we sold it, and now we're running away. The bad news is sandwiched in between a couple of shows of appreciation for the community, and that's great. There are some people out there that have played this game, and some people that were really interested in it. I was really interested in it. I was excited about this game. I wanted to see this game succeed, because I think I kind of got what they were trying to do with it, but just nothing happened with it. It just stopped. And it's frustrating, because this level of communication, what we're seeing right now, with basically a one-liner saying, hey, we're done, thanks for playing, it has been pretty much the adventure the whole way. It's been the experience the whole time this game is out. And so I'm just really curious about what the idea was behind this game, because I don't want to come out and say that it was just a cash grab, because I know that's some of the sentiment. Yours truly, I went and I left. I'm not happy with how this is handled, and I've voiced my concerns in a review, and you'll see that in a little bit. But I don't want to say it's a cash grab, but I really think that whatever happened here, it was kind of only halfway seen through. I don't think that whoever was really invested in it were the people that were really in charge of making sure that it stayed out there for any reasonable length of time. So the announcement goes on to say that they want to thank their partners at Paramount. Yes, thank you, Paramount, for letting us have a half-baked Star Trek simulation. It thanks Paramount's insight. It's just really kind of a strange thing, because this was posted on the official forums at Paradox. And, I mean, if there's somebody from Paramount that's reading that and saying, hey, thank you, I appreciate you acknowledging the fact that we own Star Trek and we let you use it, I mean, great. But and then it says, lastly, we cannot express enough gratitude for you, our community, for your support, enthusiasm, and dedication. That one's legit, because there are some people that were very supportive, enthusiastic, and dedicated to this game. Your engagement, feedback, and passion have been the driving force behind this adventure. You've built more than just a player base. You've forged a community of explorers united under the banner of Star Trek. I don't believe that. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. I haven't seen that. What I've seen is a bunch of people who are hungry for a continued journey. And I don't think that what we were given in Star Trek Infinite was enough to really sustain the true depths of the desire that people have to explore the Star Trek universe. The Star Trek universe is massive. It's so much more than just the Klingons, Cardassians, and the Romulans. And this game just really scratched the surface of it. And so it's just really unfortunate. It says, the journey for updating Star Trek Infinite concludes here. The universe we've created together remains. Yes, it remains, although it will not change, never will. It's going to stay as it is, dead in space. It's not surprising to me that currently Star Trek Infinite is sitting at an overwhelmingly negative review score on Steam, and yours truly is part of that. I went and I left a negative review because I had not left a review yet. I was waiting to see what the future of this game held, because I did a video previously kind of talking about my general feelings about this game once it came out, and it got a lot of comparison to Stellaris, and it should, because it is a heavily modified version of Stellaris, and I stand by a lot of the criticisms and the praises that I had for this game. But in 6 months, look at the release date for this game, October 12th of 2023. This game was advertised for it was teased for about a year before it came out, and then it was revealed fully, the gameplay and everything, back, I think they call it Picard Day, back in the summer of 2023. So it had a little bit of hype to it, but it did have some concerns very early on, because it was very apparent that it was a heavily modified version of Stellaris, and the Stellaris community was very hesitant. I mean, if you look there in the background, you can see there's the lava worlds from Stellaris, and so the concerns were, is this a cash grab? And, you know, I was trying to be optimistic about it. I didn't want to come back and say, hey, I feel like this is kind of a scam. I don't think it was. I still don't think it was. I think that this is probably, and it's just my opinion, I think this is somebody's passion project. I think there's somebody at Paradox that started messing around with the Stellaris engine, that loves Star Trek, and come up with an idea, somehow convinced the suits at Paradox to go along with it, got Nimble Giant involved, and here we are with Star Trek Infinite, a completely dead product. I mean, when people say games are dead, this one actually is. You can play it today. Go buy it on Steam. I think it's $30, and it's definitely not worth that. But it is playable, and so the advantage, I guess you could say, is you know what you're getting. If you buy it today, you know that tomorrow it's not going to be plagued with a lot of the update nonsense that's going on with Stellaris and some of the other Paradox IPs at this point. So I'm not going to belabor the point on this. I just wanted to kind of read and show a little bit about what has happened with Star Trek Infinite. Ultimately, this game is completely dead, and it's unfortunate because I think that it had a lot of potential. I think that there was a lot of systems that were broken with it, a lot of systems that were half fleshed out, but with a little bit of love and care from, say, a very good modding community, this game could have been exceptional. I mean, a rival to Stellaris if handled appropriately. But with a game that's just absolutely certainly done, it's going to kill any kind of modding community that's out there. I think there's some people that are still working on it, and I'm not going to cover it anymore. Like I said, I had plans to do a playthrough of the Federation at least to kind of demo it, but since it's not going to be going there much longer, there's really no point to it. So if you're interested, it's out on Steam. It has an overwhelmingly negative reception and rating. And if you look at the ratings for it, though, you're going to notice that a lot of those ratings have to do with the fact that the game was released 6 months ago and has been abandoned by its creators. And that's unfortunate. The last thing I'll say is that this sets a very bad precedence for games like this. Star Trek is a huge intellectual property. Huge. This was a gigantic missed opportunity on Paradox's part, because Star Trek fans are hungry for something like this. We want to explore the Star Trek galaxy. That's what made a lot of the older Star Trek games, like 25th Anniversary and A Final Unity, and even the Star Trek like Elite Force and Star Trek Armada and a lot of these other games, it allowed us to explore the Star Trek universe, which is so rich in this diverse cast of alien creatures and alien worlds, and the ability to explore and uncover new wonders. This game missed the mark so badly, and I had such high hopes for it, and I really think it sets a bad precedence, because what you have is a game company that has said, hey, we've got this massive IP over here that we've been entrusted to, and we're going to build a game, we're going to release it, and then we're just going to drop it. And so it really shows a serious disrespect to the Star Trek IP on the part of Paradox to put this out there, make almost no updates and no changes to it, and then just drop it unceremoniously with a blog post thanking primarily Paramount for the opportunity for them to make the game. It's insulting. And it's really disappointing. And I hope that, if other companies or, God forbid if Paradox is allowed to do it again, that if these companies are given an opportunity to take on these IPs, that they treat them with a little bit of respect, that they treat them with the respect that they deserve, that the fans of these IPs deserve. These are not just TV shows. Okay, these are important things. Captain Jean-Luc Picard is a very important figure in my life. Like, for me as a person, he is a very important representation of what a good leader should be, and somebody who has the ability to take other good leaders and put them together in a situation to work to an amazing conclusion that works for the benefit of everybody. These are not just fictional characters for a lot of us, and this is not a universe that should be treated lightly, and I feel like it really was in this situation. And so I hope that going forward, if this is done again, for God's sakes, let's get somebody in here that really appreciates the content that they're creating. And not just the developers. The developers, I believe, in this situation really cared and tried, but it's the higher-ups that really need to understand that what you're pushing out is important to people. And if the people buying this stuff are not happy, you have no product, you will have no company, because you won't last. You can keep this up for a little while, but it won't last forever. I promise you. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking with me for this little bitty rant and talk about the abandonment of Star Trek Infinite. Like I said, if you're interested in checking it out, apparently it's still going to be on Steam. Just know that it's overwhelmingly negative, but a lot of those are because it's been abandoned. So if you look through the reviews, you'll see there's a few people. There's always somebody out there who has a crash problem, but for the most part, it runs really well. It's just a watered-down version of Solaris that uses Star Trek assets, if that's your thing. So, hey everybody, thanks for hanging out with me for this quick video. I'm Commander Exorcist. Take care, fly safe, and I will see you out there. Good night, everybody.